What's up, everybody, and welcome to my WWE 12 universe. And you're joining me on Monday Night Raw as I'm about to do a run-in with CM Punk in this number one contenders match between Tully Blanchard and Goldust. And the reason for this run-in is because Tully Blanchard has his own storyline currently with Bret the Hitman Hart, and there's a much more interesting storyline going on between CM Punk and Goldust. So we're gonna come out and CM Punk disrupt this all entirely and really set the tone for the road to Money in the Bank. And if you guys haven't seen Fatal 4-Way, I urge you guys, go check it out. If you enjoy it, leave some comments, leave likes. But this is the second Raw as we head into Money in the Bank, and what we're gonna have is some qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank match at Money in the Bank. So as you know, it's an interpromotional deal in WWE 12. You get 3 superstars from Raw, 3 superstars from SmackDown, and these guys will take part in the Money in the Bank ladder match to determine who will get that prestigious Money in the Bank contract that they can cash in at any time against either champion on either brand. So we're gonna have qualifying matches this week on Raw and on SmackDown to determine who will qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match. And what we'll also have as well tonight, in addition to this run-in, is Jacob Cass taking on Triple H, and that will be for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but not in the traditional sense. It's in the sense of, obviously, if Jacob Cass wins, he will be the guy to have a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But if Triple H wins, it means that you guys, the fans, will get a chance to decide who will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So it'll be open to a vote. You guys can vote in the comments and let me know who you think should be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and the most commented and most liked comment will tally those up, and then the winner of the most liked and most commented will be the person to take the spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match if Triple H is successful, because Triple H will be defending his World Heavyweight title at Money in the Bank. So getting into this one with Triple H and Jacob Cass, so you see a front face lock, arm ring and go behind, and there's a chop block, and Jacob Cass looks to be taking it to Triple H early on, but here comes Alberto Del Rio. Triple H wants Jacob Cass to work with him to take out Del Rio, but Del Rio just takes out Triple H, and you have to ask, is Alberto Del Rio and Jacob Cass, are they working together? Jacob Cass going for the pin, but Triple H kicks out, way before a 1 count, although I think he's favouring his quad, which is never any good, but he takes out the quad, takes out the knee of Jacob Cass in return. So it looks like things between Triple H and Alberto Del Rio are heating up significantly, with Alberto Del Rio coming out tonight and attacking Triple H during this Money in the Bank qualifying match. So again, you have to ask the question, are Alberto Del Rio and Jacob Cass working together? Why did Alberto Del Rio come out and attack Triple H? What does this mean for this match? What does it mean for Money in the Bank? And how are things going to progress forward? But looking at the card that we got tonight as well, the other match that we're going to bring you, because we're big fans of tag team action, we're going to bring you the Hart Foundation of Bret and Owen Hart taking on Mason Ryan and Big Zeke Jackson in tag team action. But once again, going back to this one, Triple H now with the advantage, side headlock, the go behind, and here's a Russian leg sweep by Triple H. Still can't get over the fact that Alberto Del Rio came out in this one and attacked Triple H. That really escalates things between Alberto Del Rio and Triple H. And here you see a big time superplex back into the ring from Triple H, and the crowd are on their feet, way up in the rafters for the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I tell you what, Jacob Cass has given as good as he's got in this one. He really has. and I believe that move's called, I think it's called a Sea Dog in the game. I don't know what its actual name is, but it's almost like it's a float over a reverse diving DDT, I think it is. A really good move. I think Rey Mysterio also has that move in the game. There you see the jumping snapmare by Jacob Cass as well, taking down Triple H. And you know, it has to be said, this is a bit of a shock because nobody expected Jacob Cass to come in against the World Heavyweight Champion and be performing anywhere near as well as he has been. So, you know, you have to give Jacob Cass a lot of credit. You know, the former NXT superstar. Here comes the pedigree. No, Jacob Cass counters into a super kick. Goes for the pin. Triple H kicks out. And the match continues. Now Triple H sends Jacob Cass to the outside. Tries to get the fans behind him. And there's a DX crotch chop. Irish whip into the corner. Big time Sambo suplex counter. And there's a crucifix pin. And Jacob Cass is your winner. Jacob Cass will be going to Money in the Bank. He is the first competitor from Raw to qualify for Money in the Bank, and you have to say it is a huge shock, a big upset here on Raw. Jacob Cass defeats the World Heavyweight Champion Triple H one-on-one. And what does that mean for the World Heavyweight title picture? Because, you know, Jacob Cass, if he's beaten Triple H here, surely he has to be considered for a title shot, if not the #1 contender. Because, I mean, being brutally honest, what else can you do? What else can you do but beat the champion to be considered a challenger? To be honest with you, there's not a lot else you can do. And here come Alberto Del Rio and David Otunga talking to Jacob Cass, and Jacob Cass, he's standing up to him in the ring. Wow, this universe, it never ceases to amaze me. But here we go, time for tag team action between Mason Ryan and Ezekiel Jackson against Bret and Owen Hart, the Hart Foundation. And you know, I think a lot of fans, a lot of guys that watch the series, you know, they'll be thinking, why did you put Mason Ryan and Ezekiel Jackson together? You know, it's a horrible tag team. Neither one of those guys can really wrestle. You know, Mason Ryan is basically the second coming of Batista, but he's much worse. Why did you do it? And the reason for me doing it is really quite simple, in the sense of, you know, in real life, the creative at WWE, they don't really have much for either one of these guys at the moment. Yes, I know that Ezekiel Jackson is a former Intercontinental Champion, but since his run as Intercontinental Champion with that title, you know, realistically, where's he been? He's kind of fallen off the radar, and much like Kane, was given time to grow his hair, even though his hair is nowhere near as long as Kane's. But, you know, I think the reason why I wanted to put those two together is because, you know, they both have a certain look, they have a certain size, you know, they have a presence in the ring, and I just think, put together as a tag team, they could be a real force. And the other reason why I want to put them together as a tag team is because the tag team division, really and truthfully, is non-existent. It's not there. You know, in terms of legitimate tag teams, you've got Primo and Epico, and that's about it. You know, Air Boom have been disbanded unofficially, but you know, they might as well be officially disbanded, given Evan Bourne's suspension, and it looks very unlikely that he'll be coming back to the WWE, as he's currently in rehab. So, you know, the only other established tag team that you had, they're kind of gone. Yes, some of you can argue that there are the Usos as well, and you know, I say that's a fair point. The Usos are there as well, there's no two ways about that. But having said that, you know, are they being used well enough? No, they're not. You know, and the best way to build a tag team division is to have other tag teams in it. You know, so 2 tag teams, to call it a tag team division isn't enough. And I always go back to the 1980s, mostly because it's, you know, one of my favorite periods in wrestling, where you look at the tag team division And there were tag teams for days back in the 80s. They really were. The tag team division was really strong. Lots of solid performers as well. And I think back to the first 2 Survivor Series where they had the tag team Survivor Series match. Instead of 5-on-5, it was 10-on-10. And you're not able to put on those matches without a solid tag team division. And that's what it's about for me. Getting back to the point where tag team wrestling actually matters. Whereas right now in the WWE, it feels like tag team wrestling is a bit of an afterthought, which is a shame. Because it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be something that gets equal treatment, much like the Intercontinental title or the United States title or even the Divas title. The Divas title has more prominence right now than the tag team titles, which is a shame. But yeah, I would stick Mason Ryan and Ezekiel Jackson together in a tag team. These two could go on a dominant run, because when you look at them and you compare them to most other tag teams, what you'll get from a casual fan is who in the blue hell is going to stop these guys, because they would look so dominant in the ring. I think that would really help them get over. And on top of that, putting them two together as a tag team will give them time to work with some other guys who are really, really good in the ring, help them tighten up their work. And then, when the time comes, I think maybe after a couple months of them being a tag team, you can split them up, and the two of them, they can have their feud with each other. And even though both guys are kind of, they're not the best workers, we'll say that to be kind, in the ring, by the time they would have had a run as a tag team and worked with some guys who are technically more adept in the ring, shall we say, their own skills would have tightened up a fair bit. And I think, they could actually put together something watchable by the end of it. I wholeheartedly believe that. So, it could be the launching platform for both of them if the WWE were to go that route. I really wouldn't be against them having a run with the tag team titles either. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that would also be quite a good move if they were to follow that whole line of booking. And then, as you say, by the time you disband them, they would have been together for some time. There would have been a good, solid personal issue that people could relate to base the feud on. And you see Owen Hart going for the pin, and the referee's down. So maybe Bret and Owen could have won the match right there. If the referee was on his feet, I think Owen Hart would have had a free count right there. But going back to my point, you would have had a nice, solid personal basis for the feud, much like what they tried to use for the Miz and R-Truth. Although what they botched that for me, because even right now, as we head into Elimination Chamber in real life and WWE programming, with both of those guys in the Elimination Chamber, they could be making so much more of those two guys being in that match in relation to the feud that they had and the heat that they have going into it, and the whole basis of R-Truth's comeback and him supposed to be getting Miz week in, week out, which suddenly stopped after he promised that. But it could have been so much better. And in the case of splitting up Ezekiel Jackson and Mason Ryan, you could do that whole same premise, because it's booking 101, and the basics of booking, they don't change. Booking in itself, the basic stories in themselves won't change. They will always stay the same. So they could do that, and again, you've got credibility to the story because of their history as a tag team. If they happen to go on a losing run before they disbanded, you've got all of that heat, much like how the Rockers disbanded in the early 90s before they set up a good feud. And I personally think they could have made more of that as well, because those two were a tag team for a long time, very successful tag team, very popular tag team. And even though it was huge when Shawn Michaels split up the Rockers, it could have been made even bigger. It really could have. And when Shawn Michaels was Intercontinental Champion as well, Marty Jannetty, perfect choice to come back and have a feud with him because of all of the history. So applying it to the theoretical situation of Mason Ryan and Ezekial Jackson, there's a hell of a lot to go with. You know, it's not as if you're short on material for that feud, because you're not. And I think, you know, as I say, it could be the launching pad for either one of those guys. You know, just because of his size, because of his style, you know, you can argue that Mason Ryan, as he taps out here, could be a legitimate future world champion, because he is Batista in the second coming. So, you know, I don't see how or why it couldn't work for him, using that as a launch pad. You know, he could be a face. I don't know if he would be a much better heel, probably, because let's be fair, on Batista's last run, he was epic. His mic work was epic. You know, he really carried the feud with John Cena. He did his fair bit as the guy on his way out. Really helped propel that feud with the work that he did. You know, and I really see Mason Ryan filling that void. You know, and I honestly believe that feud between him and Ezekial Jackson, after they've been a team for a while, you know, could really go down well. Will you see that in my universe mode? You're just gonna have to wait and see. So, if you enjoyed the show, leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you guys on SmackDown.